So you've probably heard the term greenwashing,
Sure,
right?
yeah, definitely.
It's when a huge company, spends millions painting this green veneer on operations that are actually, well, not sustainable at all.
Right. It's all about the marketing spin over the substance.
Exactly. Perception is everything until uh, reality catches up.
Which it usually does. It's that classic digital age illusion, isn't it?
It really is. Well, today we are taking that very concept and applying it directly to the construction and the built environment sectors.
Okay.
We're diving deep into this phenomenon that our sources are calling BIM Wash, or, and this is the one I really like, Hollywood BIM.
Ah, Hollywood BIM, yes. It's a hugely relevant topic right now. And frankly, pretty critical.
Quite critical.
Well, think about it. The entire AEC sector, architecture, engineering, construct, everyone's rushing towards digital transformation.
Right, it's the big push.
But the superficial adoption of technology, that's accelerating just as quickly, if not faster sometimes.
Okay, let's maybe just unpack this a bit for listeners who might only know the acronym. We're talking about Building Information Modeling, BIM.
Mm-hmm.
And crucially, BIM isn't just a piece of software you buy off the shelf. It's really a comprehensive process, a whole way of managing things.
Exactly. It's about digitally representing the physical, the functional characteristics of a building, an asset.
The idea being it's the single source of truth, optimizing everything from concept and design.
All the way through construction and then into actual operation, the full life cycle. That's the potential, anyway.
Right, the potential. So the problem, BIM wash, that happens when a company or maybe a project claims or just appears to be using this tech,
Yeah, often for marketing points or maybe to look good in a competitive bid.
but they aren't genuinely exploiting its full collaborative power
Mm-hmm.
or delivering, real data-driven value.
That's the core of it. It looks like BIM on the surface, but it isn't doing the work BIM's supposed to do.
Okay, so our mission today is to define precisely what this superficiality looks like, on a construction site or maybe into a fancy presentation deck.
Mm-hmm.
We need to explain the severe financial and reputational implications. These are serious for clients and the whole industry.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, we want to give you, the listener, the practical tools. We're going to talk about 4 levels of BIM wash later to spot the difference.
So you can tell genuine BIM competence from a costly Hollywood illusion.
Exactly. So let's start there. If a firm shows off this flashy 3D model, how do you actually know? How can you tell if they're delivering true data-rich BIM or just, selling a dazzling picture? What does Hollywood BIM look like in practice?
Well, our sources point to 4 key warning signs. And interestingly, they all really stem from a failure in the data, not necessarily the visual.
Okay, data failure.
Right. First, the most common feature is just superficial use. The BIM model is treated only as geometry.
Like a 3D drawing.
Exactly. It's pretty to look at. Maybe you can spin it around, but it's functionally hollow. It lacks that rich database, the embedded information about materials, costs, scheduling, all the I in BIM.
The information part.
The critical part.
Yeah.
You need that for serious data-driven decision-making.
Ah, okay. So you can walk around the building virtually, maybe, but you can't ask it intelligent questions about what it's made of or how it goes together.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. The second warning sign. A lack of integration?
Meaning?
Meaning BIM might be used heavily in one phase, let's say, initial design. Looks great. But then the data flow just breaks down.
It doesn't get passed on properly.
Exactly. It doesn't flow smoothly into construction or procurement or, crucially, the handover to operations and facility management.
Right.
And this siloed approach, it just defeats the whole purpose of BIM, which is optimization across the entire life cycle.
And yeah, since the ultimate promise is often about a more efficient asset over 30, maybe 50 years, cutting that information flow off early seems completely self-defeating.
Utterly. Absolutely. Then the third feature is really just marketing goals. Purely marketing.
How so?
The technology is highlighted heavily in presentations, in brochures, marketing materials. They talk a great game about their BIM capabilities.
Sure.
But the actual BIM use on the project provides no measurable, verifiable benefit. Not for the project delivery itself, and certainly not for the client's long-term asset management needs. It's just talk.
All sizzle, no steak.
Pretty much. And finally, number 4, the one that you said makes your blood pressure rise, minimal compliance. This is where they only meet the absolute bare, maybe legislative minimum requirements for BIM.
Just ticking a box.
Exactly. Just enough to satisfy a government mandate, perhaps, rather than actively seeking to use the technology to its full potential to actually improve the project.
That seems incredibly short-sighted.
It is, and that last point is so critical. When the goal shifts from maximizing value to simply meeting the bare legal minimum, all that potential efficiency just evaporates. And it's important to note, too, we often talk about these issues in places like Western Europe or North America where regulations are tight. But our sources confirm this is happening everywhere. It's a global challenge. They specifically mention, for instance, the Hungarian reality. It's about digital integrity wherever you are.
Okay, that paints a really clear picture of the behavior.
Yeah.
But I want to dig into the why. Why is this superficiality so much more damaging than just, say, wasted marketing spend? If the building still gets built in the end, what are the real-world high costs here?
Oh, the financial implications can be staggering, really. When a project gets BIM washed, it immediately reverts the whole process back to the flawed logic of traditional construction methods.
How so?
It essentially starts operating on the weakest link principle.
The weakest link. So you mean no matter how good the design team's BIM model was, if the construction firm down the line or maybe the facilities manager can't properly use that data or feed information back into the model, the whole chain just snaps.
That's exactly right. The information chain, the digital thread, it's only as robust as its least competent user or its least digitally integrated phase.
Wow.
And this dramatically reduces overall efficiency. It cuts effectiveness. It often results in significant rework, costly delays, major information conflicts on site.
Okay, I can see that.
And depending on the project size, the resulting damages, the problems, they can amount to hundreds of millions, sometimes even billions of dollars.
Billions.
On major infrastructure projects, yes. And often, these issues are impossible to correct properly after the fact because the fundamental information structure, the digital foundation, was flawed from the very beginning.
So we could be talking about billions potentially wasted because a complex integrated data model was basically treated like a glorified 3D sketch.
That's a good summary. Yes.
That completely flips the whole business case for digitization on its head, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And that's just the client's perspective.
Right, there's more.
From the service provider's side, BIM Wash obviously damages the reputation of the specific company involved. If they mess up, word gets out.
Sure.
But perhaps worse, it generates this profound chilling effect across the entire sector on innovation itself.
That mean a chilling effect on innovation.
Yes. Think about it. If a high-profile project fails, and it's publicly linked to using BIM, even if it was superficial BIM.
People blame the technology.
Exactly. News of that failure, one source rather dramatically called it a disco accident. It spreads fast.
A disco accident.
Meaning it's public, it's spectacular, everyone sees it, and the consequences are immediate.
Right.
This discourages other companies, maybe ones who are thinking about investing properly, from actually putting the necessary development funds into genuine, deep digital transformation.
Because they see the risk.
Why risk millions on training, on system upgrades, on changing processes if the publicly reported outcomes are fines, conflicts, lawsuits, and bad press?
That makes complete sense. If people see the dazzling presentation, but then the project itself collapses in this spectacle of cost overruns and problems, they conclude that BIM itself is the problem.
Not the lack of genuine competence in using it.
Exactly. Which brings us right back to the core mechanic of BIM Wash, doesn't it? That critical gap between what's claimed and what's actually real.
That's absolutely the key. We can even define BIM Wash using a pretty simple formula. BIM claim is greater than BIM competency.
Claim competency, okay.
It is basically the attempt to hide internal imperfections, let's call it BIM incompetency, by promoting an inaccurate, often inflated view of your actual capability or your credentials.
So if competency is the crucial missing piece here, and we need to check if a claim is actually verifiable, how do we measure competency rigorously? As a client, say, looking at a proposal, I don't just want academic definitions. I need practical tests. How do I check?
That's a fair point. Competency absolutely needs to be demonstrated, not just declared on a glossy brochure. So, if you're testing a firm, our sources suggest focusing on 3 different scales.
Okay, 3 scales. What are they?
First, the individual scale. Don't just ask if the employee knows how to use Revit or some other software. That's not enough.
What should I ask?
Ask if they have the adequate skill, the knowledge, and crucially the experience to consistently generate data-rich models
Okay.
in a timely manner, under project pressure, and to the client's required high delivery standard. You need proof of successful, verifiable delivery, not just a training certificate.
So it's about demonstrated ability under real-world pressure, not just theoretical knowledge.
Exactly. Then second, the organization scale.
The company level.
Right. You shouldn't just ask, can your company deliver this complex BIM requirement? Too easy to say yes.
What's the better question?
You should ask, show me the last 5 or 10 projects where you consistently delivered this specific high-quality, data-rich service. Organizational competency means having the necessary systems, the standard operating procedures, the quality checks already in place and proven, not just that they could do it.
Got it. Proven track record. What's the third scale?
And finally, the project team scale. This one's often the hardest, actually,
Why is that?
because the entire group of organizations involved, the designers, the engineers, the contractors, maybe key subcontractors, they must have collectively gained the necessary experience to jointly deliver services. They need to work together using optimized common standards and workflows.
So even if you have great individual firms, if they haven't worked together effectively using BIM before.
You're introducing a significant risk. If your team is just a collection of high-performing individual players who have never actually collaborated successfully on a complex BIM project before, you're exposing yourself and the project to potential failure points.
That level of rigor is, well, it's illuminating. Because we usually think of BIM Wash being committed mainly by architects or contractors, trying to win bids.
That's common, yes.
But are there others practicing this kind of deception?
Oh, absolutely. BIM Wash has many perpetrators beyond the traditional AEC service providers. We need to be aware of them, too.
Yeah, cool.
For instance, software developers and their resellers, they frequently inflate the benefits of their tools.
How so?
They might claim a single product is a comprehensive BIM solution that will magically solve all your digital problems.
Which, given that real BIM is a collaborative process involving dozens of specialized tools and workflows, is almost never true.
Very rarely true.
Yeah.
You also have clients or owners themselves who perhaps inadvertently contribute to the problem.
The clients. How?
By demanding a BIM product or deliverable that they may not fully understand themselves, or maybe they lack the internal capability within their own organization to properly utilize and maintain it once it's handed over.
So they ask for a Ferrari when they only really know how to drive, or maybe only need a bicycle.
That's a perfect analogy. Yes. And finally, don't forget consultants and advisors.
Oh.
They can sometimes commit BIM wash by, shall we say, inflating the perceived transformative effects of their advisory services on the BIM implementation process.
Yeah.
Promising revolutionary change in 6 easy weeks or something unrealistic.
Okay, so it's a whole ecosystem issue. This really sounds like a spectrum of deception then, doesn't it? Ranging maybe from accidental confusion at one end all the way to outright fraud at the other. It can't all be maliciously intentional, surely.
No, you're right. It's definitely a spectrum. And that's why our sources identify 4 distinct levels of BIM wash intensity. It helps to categorize the severity.
Okay. Levels.
Yes, moving progressively from simple misunderstanding to what amounts to pure fiction. These levels are really the tools you need to recognize what kind of situation you might be facing.
Okay, let's walk through them then, starting with the accidental variety, the least severe.
Right. Level 1 is confusion. Or you could call it unintentional BIM wash. This is simply where the core concepts are just not properly understood.
Examples.
We see people confusing a basic model exchange, like just emailing a file, with genuine, real-time, model-based collaboration. Big difference.
Yeah.
Or they might confuse a dedicated model server, which has specific functionalities, with just a generic file server. They might be inadvertently misleading themselves as much as others, but the negative outcome, failed expectations, wasted effort, is often the same.
Okay, so genuine misunderstanding, but still costly. What's the next step up, where they know a little bit, maybe, but not enough?
That takes us to level 2, inexperience. This is low-level BIM wash. It manifests when only the really obvious low-hanging fruit deliverables are grasped.
Like what kind of deliverable?
Basic services, like maybe just producing coordinated 2D drawings from a 3D model, or performing very basic clash detection between major systems. Things that are useful, sure, but hardly cutting edge.
And the wash part?
The wash part is when these basic services are promoted and sold as if they are cutting-edge innovations. They're using a supercomputer, like a simple calculator, but trying to charge you, or at least impress you, as if they're unlocking the supercomputer's full capacity.
Ah,
The
okay.
analogy used in the sources here is the iceberg. They see and address the few obvious things above the waterline.
But they miss the vast, deeper requirements and potential benefits hidden below the surface.
Exactly. They're missing the bulk of the value.
Okay. So promoting a minimal, fairly standard function as if it's a major triumph. That brings us nicely to level 3, where I guess the intentional deception really starts to kick in more strongly.
That's right. Level 3 is exaggeration. This is mid-level BIM wash. Here, actual verifiable BIM competencies do exist within the organization. They can do something genuinely well.
Okay, so there's some real skill there.
Yes, but these existing competencies are intentionally promoted far beyond their true scope or scale or consistency.
Like adding special effects.
Precisely. The analogy is adding Hollywood special effects to a basically true story to make it seem much grander.
Can you give an example?
Sure. A large national firm might claim extensive coast-to-coast BIM capabilities across all their offices.
Okay.
But in reality, those capabilities were only partially achieved by one small specialized team, maybe in one local office,
Hmm.
on just a handful of pilot projects. They take that single kernel of truth and blow it totally out of proportion to win major national contracts.
Right. Stretching the truth to breaking point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's level 3. What's the most severe end of the scale then? The pure, unadulterated fiction.
That takes us to level 4, illusion. This is severe BIM wash. Here, the competency story amounts to pure fiction. It's a complete fabrication.
Wow.
The source material likens this to a Bollywood movie plot all song and dance.
Okay.
It's where a service provider, maybe one with basically pre-BIM capabilities, somehow successfully markets themselves and secures a large, complex, BIM-mandated project.
With no actual capability whatsoever to deliver it properly.
None, or virtually none. Under the severe illusion, a client looking at bids might find it financially impossible to distinguish between true competency and utter incompetency based just on the submitted documents. The fakers look just as good on paper.
That is a genuinely terrifying prospect for clients trying to procure complex projects. So flipping this around, if we want to move past these illusions, these exaggerations, what does a real successful value-adding BIM implementation actually look like? What are the requirements to be on the side of genuine value, not wash?
Well, the requirements are pretty much the direct antidote to the features of BIM Wash we discussed earlier.
Okay.
It really has to start with full integration. BIM needs to be woven into all project phases, from the earliest feasibility studies right through design, construction, and critically into the long-term operation and maintenance phases. No dropped baton.
Continuous data flow. Got it.
What else? Second, the model absolutely must contain genuinely detailed data, the I in BIM, to function as a true information center for decision-making, not just pretty geometry.
Rich data.
Third, training and continuous development of staff. This can't be a one-off workshop. It has to be ongoing, embedded in the company culture. It's non-negotiable for genuine capability.
Makes sense. People need the skills.
And finally, and this is crucial, there must be genuine commitment and financial backing from senior management. Real buy-in. Not just using BIM as a marketing buzzword in presentations, but actually investing in the tools, the time, the process changes needed to make it work properly.
Right. Leadership commitment. That all sounds very sensible, very logical. But our sources also highlight a related problem, don't they? This sort of bureaucracy hurdle.
Yes.
It seems sometimes the well-intentioned drive for true BIM can actually overcomplicate things almost to the point of absurdity, creating its own set of problems.
That is a massive pain point we hear about from people trying to deliver genuine BIM on the ground.
Yes. We're seeing this really sad trend of over-engineering the BIM requirement.
Over-engineering, how?
Well, clients, or maybe their advisors, sometimes demand extremely high levels of detail far too early in the process.
Right. Like asking for really detailed facility management information, specific asset data, to be fully embedded in the model way back during the schematic design phase.
But that precise final information often isn't even finalized itself yet at that stage. It seems impossible and incredibly costly to even attempt.
Exactly. It's putting the cart miles before the horse, and this often results in these enormous BIM execution plans or requirements documents, 50, 100, sometimes even 300 pages long.
Wow. Who writes these?
Well, sometimes they're written by BIM consultants who perhaps need to generate a lot of detailed technical work to justify their fees.
Ah,
And then these massive documents are given to clients who, maybe, as one source put it rather bluntly, might not know a whole lot about BIM themselves, so they can't easily tell which requirements are essential and which are just absurd overreach or boilerplate.
and the ultimate frustration for the project team must be the sheer amount of effort they spend trying to follow all these incredibly complex, sometimes contradictory rules.
Oh, absolutely. The microscopic naming conventions for every single object, the obscure classification codes they have to apply.
Only to find out later, maybe at handover, that no one looks at it or no one actually uses it.
It's the very definition of wasted effort and wasted money. It actively discourages good practice.
And speaking of money, there's another related issue here, isn't there? This cost imbalance problem in negotiations.
Yes, a really tricky one. Clients sometimes forget to specify absolutely key requirements up front, things like specific COBie data drops needed for their FM systems or maybe detailed quantification reports.
All right.
And then they try to add these requirements in later in the project. And they don't always understand why the contractor or design team says, okay, but that's an extra cost.
They see it as just ticking another box.
Kind of. They don't appreciate that adding these critical data requirements late isn't simple. It often requires massive rework, going back through the model, adding information retrospectively. It comes at a huge extra cost because it is, quite simply, significant extra work that has to be integrated backward into an already complex system.
Yeah, better education for clients right from the start seems crucial there. It could avoid those really tricky negotiations and unnecessary costs down the line.
Absolutely. Clear, realistic requirements defined early are key.
Okay, so let's try and bring all this together then. BIM, Building Information Modeling. It's this powerful, integrated process that can yield enormous value across the entire life of an asset.
Provided, and it's a big proviso, it's treated with the seriousness and the rigor it actually deserves.
Right. Whereas BIM Wash, or Hollywood BIM, is the superficial marketing exercise. It sacrifices genuine, verifiable competency for these inflated claims.
And that ultimately leads to,
So understanding this crucial difference and maybe internalizing those 4 levels of intensity, you walked us through from level 1 confusion right up to level 4 illusion.
that's really the most essential first step for any client, consultant, contractor towards detecting BIM wash, either in your own organization or when you're vetting potential project partners.
Which is becoming an increasingly valuable skill, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because here's the final thought we wanted to leave you, the listener, with today. Something to mull over.
Mm-hmm.
Our sources strongly suggest that BIM wash is actually expected to proliferate significantly in the market over the next few years, maybe the next decade.
Really? Get worse, not better. Why?
It seems to be driven by this combination of factors. First, the explosive number of large clients, especially public sector ones, who are now mandating BIM use on their projects. Demand is skyrocketing.
Okay, more demand.
Combined with the current general absence of robust, mandatory, independent assessment or certification of BIM capabilities across the industry. There's no universal standard of proof.
Ah, I see. So high demand meets low verification.
Exactly. And this creates this unfortunate environment where those companies with purely creative BIM capability statements,
Okay.
the level 4 illusionists,
They become virtually indistinguishable, at least in a bidding document or a marketing presentation, from those firms who have actually invested the significant time and money in developing hard-earned, genuine competency.
So the fundamental challenge for the entire industry moving forward is how to move definitively past the lip service, past the slick presentations.
Towards demanding demonstrable, verifiable value. Value that can actually withstand scrutiny. It really comes down to demanding proof, doesn't it? Not just accepting glossy PowerPoints at face value.
Proof, not promises. That makes the whole process of vetting partners and checking credentials more critical than ever before.
It certainly does.
Well, thank you for this deep dive.